So for this video, I wanted to talk about why you need to stop complaining. I said it. You need to stop complaining. Stop complaining about these things not going your way. Stop complaining about this person that didn't reply to your email. Stop complaining, man, because it's not good. It's not good for the brain. It's not good for the brain. And it may sound crazy. However, I saw an article the other day. I didn't know if it was actually a real article, but I'm going to go through it now in real time, just have a read through and then just share sort of my thoughts and opinions on complaining, right? Would I say I'm much of a complainer? I can be sometimes. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to say that I don't complain. But one thing about me, fortunately, is that firstly, I don't take things too personal. I don't take things too personal because I know sort of the game, let's call it that. And with my experience being in PR as well, and that's effectively you learning how to sell your client to the media. And the media, a lot of them are lovely people, but a lot of them can be it can be a jungle out there, I'll tell you that for free. And when you are there, you need to be very much, was it, thick skinned in that element, and you need to be in a position where you have to expect that things may not necessarily go to plan, or it may not necessarily be a yes. You may face many rejections when it comes down to working in that particular field. But I suppose it gives you that sort of leverage when you are, building in public or doing something on your own accord or building an agency like myself, because ultimately there's life is full of yeses and it's full of no's. Yeah, you can get yes or no. Can you help me with this? No, I'm busy. Okay, thank you. Can you do this for no? Sorry, I'm busy. Can't do this. You want to work? No, no. There's so many elements of it that you get that you just kind of get used to it and you just keep going and you just learn over time, right? But let me share my screen and we can get straight into it, man. Let's go. So, complaining sucks for your brain. So, this is in the MA Chronicle. To be fair, there wasn't any other publications that cover this. So, let's take it with a pinch of salt. But all in all, I still think that it's a really good topic to cover. So, I'm not going to like go and read through the whole article, right? But I'm just going to pick out on a few bits. So, complaining is a daily habit for many people. It is frequently used both as a coping mechanism and as part of normal human communication. And to be fair, matter of fact, we do complain a lot about the weather. We complain about the weather. We complain. I saw it was raining for like 40 days. I think it was raining since the start of the year or something, or whatever the case. Or what, for what I know, it was raining for a long time. And with that, you know us, we're just going to complain about the weather and all that sort of stuff. So that's a given, right? We're always going to complain about that. But let's see what else is there. Let's see. Naturally, there are many stressful things that teenagers have to deal with. Okay, so this one is speaking particularly for teenagers, but I suppose it's all the same as far as complaining is concerned. But the part that I thought was interesting was this habit loop that was shared here. So, what is a habit loop? Mental processes that describe how we form and keep habits. So, on one side, you have the trigger, the start of the behavior. So, it's the time, the place, or the emotion. For example, your teacher is droning on about something really uninteresting. Then that aligns with the behavior, which is the routine of actions taken. For example, you turn to your table partner and complain about how annoying the teacher is. Okay, I get it now. And then the reward is the mental justification of action. So yeah, a hit of dopamine typically. So for example, you get a sense of bonding and relief. Okay, okay, we'll dive deep into this in a moment, but let me just keep going. It can be a really dangerous habit. It's a defense mechanism, but when it becomes your default setting, especially as a teenager whose brain is continuously pruning and malinating, you're going to create a pattern of seeing everything as negative. And that's very detrimental to your physical health as well as your psychological and emotional health, he added. And then let me just talk about this last section because I just saw that word. Your thoughts literally reshape your brain structure through neuroplasticity. So your generally negative outlook could kill you. An obvious consequence of complaining is elevated stress, which will release the hormone cortisol. Elevated levels of this hormone have both physical and psychological effects, including decreased bone density, impaired memory, heart disease, and metabolic disorders. Over time, this stress also increases risk for depression, mental illness, and lower life expectancy. Wow. Okay. So I wasn't even looking to get too deep into it, but let's get deep into it now. So what I want to quickly talk about is the habit loop that I just shared with you guys, right? So we all have habit loops. We all end up doing particular things where not only are we going to be in a position where we're going to complain about something, but then we know that there will be a particular person or maybe a group of people that will align with us and they will bond over the fact that we are complaining and moaning and all that sort of stuff, right? But I wasn't even going to take it down this route, but you know what? We're here now. And you know how I feel about this issue already. The job market. So let's say, for example, we have someone who has been applying for roles, hasn't really got much luck, and they are speaking with other people. And in terms of the habit loop, let's just work through the habit loop together. So the trigger, the start of the behavior, it could be them facing another rejection from a job, right? The behavior, they message a friend to say that, oh, this job market is so rubbish, we won't be able to ever get a job in this economy. We will never be able to buy a house. We'll never be able to make something of ourselves. And that person is agreeing and saying, yeah, that's true. Yeah, we're doomed. And the reward is the mental justification of action. So that hit of dopamine, yeah. And you get a sense of bonding and relief. So you get a sense of bonding and relief in the idea that this is very hard. This ain't gonna happen for us, but at least we got each other, right? That's what I took from it. Let me know in the comments what your sort of thoughts are based on that habit loop. But when it comes down to that, that's where it really gets to the point where complaining is actually quite dangerous, because when you think of it, you when things are going rough or things are not going your way, of course you want to get some support from it. You want people to align with you to know and understand what you're feeling and going through. But imagine when you're in a constant loop and a constant feed of that sort of mindset in your head, right? And obviously, this article was more tailored for teenagers. But let's talk about the adults who went through this throughout their whole teenage lives, and they're now adults and they still have that same sort of mentality and that sort of mindset that has carried them to this day. With the way that this world is changing, right? This economy, this job market, everything, it has required us to be in a position where we are very forthcoming with developing our skills and evolving our efforts and documenting what we're doing and presenting ourselves in various different platforms in order to allow people to understand not only who we are, not only understand our expertise and our know-how and our insights, but also why we are the key person of influence within our circle or niche, or why we are the obvious choice for given opportunities moving forward, right? All of the things that are happening now require us to be in a position where we learn, we adapt, we build, we grow, we develop, we iterate, we tweak. Those are all the things that has allowed people to effectively survive now in this particular climate. And those who are refusing to make those changes or to do these things different or to make those tweaks, it's going to be very, very difficult for them. And it applies to the same rhetoric I have regarding LinkedIn and looking for jobs, job seekers. I get told all the time people are looking for jobs and they're not using the platforms that are allowing them to get in front of the people that are hiring, or get in front of the people who they can have virtual coffees with, or they can have meetings with, just to get in the door without even having to be applying through these same archaic ways. You know what I mean? And I didn't mean to bring it to this, but it really made me think that if we are in a situation, or we're becoming a society of complainers, even more so, and then we're complaining about when the bad is bad, right? And in my personal opinion, this job market as we see it is not going to get any better for a number of years. It is not going to improve, and it's not going to get any better for people to find jobs right now. And that's the reason why I think it is so important for you to try your best to get out of the headspace that you're in order to be amongst people who are doing things, who are actually, we're in this life, there's winners and losers, as sad as it is to say, it's true. But then, how often do you get a quote unquote loser that readjust their mindset and readjust their sort of headspace to know that there's more ways that they can navigate and maneuver to get the opportunities that they want? But then, because they spend so much time complaining, that could make sense as to why the dopamine hit whenever they're amongst their sort of community or people that agree with them, that co-sign what they're saying, that agree with all the things that they complain about. It always reinforces the point that, you know what, I'm right, I don't need to do anything different, because there's people that agree with me that this is tough, this is rough, we're all struggling. And I agree. In this case, there's so many different variables to this. It's not a one size fits all sort of topic or debate or discussion, right? And this is me talking to you. You guys can't reply back to me, but you can reply in the comments. So let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. But I feel that if you are in a position where you spend a lot of time complaining, it takes so long to retract and get back into your head to know that there's other ways of doing these things, or there's other ways to grow, or there's other ways to build in order to get to where you need to get to. And I do believe that in that case, complaining may not necessarily kill you. I don't believe so anyway. But I do believe that it can kill your prospects if you do not treat it as a actual thing that needs to be cured. I would go as far to say, because for me, I complain. Don't get me wrong, I complain, but I don't complain to the point where I seek someone to justify that this thing isn't fair, and it's just not meant to be. And I would say, fortunately and unfortunately, I'm too optimistic for that. You could argue that I'm toxically optimistic, because I'm always looking for the ways that it means to do better, to be better, and to excel no matter what. Like, no matter what situation I'm in, there's always room that where I can improve, and there's always room that I can just keep growing and keep developing my skills, right? It's never ending for me, because I've always been fascinated with the idea of the growth mindset and what it means to just continue to just think positively. And that whole idea of that thoughts become things. If you're thinking positively, then more than likely that positive things are going to happen. And in that sense, if you're thinking negatively, then it's a no-brainer as to why negative things are going to occur, because it's expected of you. It's apparent in the way that you look at things, or the way that you speak to people, or the way that you sort of already sort of knocked yourself down before you've even given yourself an opportunity to, right? So yeah, I think it's a bit of a deeper one. Let me see if there's anything else mentioned here as well, but I might even have to I might even have to email the journalist, and then we can actually have a chat for the channel, because it will be interesting to also get their thoughts on the topic as well. To be fair, I am going to send that email. But you know what? I don't think there is anything else to cover, really and truly, except the fact that stop complaining. Stop complaining. Life is hard as it is already. Trust me. But you complaining isn't going to make things better, and it's not going to help the situation. Matter of fact, what it will do, it will mash up your head because it will always be based on this particular article anyway, this habit loop. And if it's a continuation of that trigger that you're always used to and that behavior that you're always used to and that reward, because you know what the wickedest thing is? We have sort of taken that idea of reward as obviously a positive thing, right? But when you look at, say, dopamine is a reward, right? It's that chemical that is a reward and feel for you, no matter what you're doing. That's why they say that you can even get that sort of sense of reward or that sense of feeling good when you're just planning things. Because in your head, you're thinking you're doing something, but you haven't done anything. You haven't done the outreach, you haven't done the actual documents that need to be done. You're planning. And when you're planning, you're very much optimistic with things because it's falling in line. We're not doing the thing. So reward comes in various ways. You have to be very careful with how you sort of accept rewards in this lifetime, because not all rewards in this sense are good rewards, and some rewards can actually be damaging over time and can actually prevent you from even looking at what makes sense for you to move forward, because you've always known this particular hit of dopamine with complaining and complaining with your community or whoever it is you're complaining to, right? But either way, this is an article that I've seen. I haven't seen any other sort of discussions on it. So up until now, I will take it with a pinch of salt. However, I still think that what I've said regarding the elements of, having that sort of idea of what it means to just complain and don't make it a thing that it becomes a habit. Don't make it your personality trait, basically, was what I'm trying to say. Don't be that person where it's like, oh, they're always complaining. They're always complaining. Because when you get to that point of you being deemed as someone that's always complaining, you are not going to be someone that people want to be around. And when that happens, all that's going to happen is you're just going to be around other complainers. And when you become the what is it? They say that you're the average of the top 5 people you spend the most time with, or something like that. I need to fact check that. However, if you spend your time with complainers, chances are you're just gonna complain. And right now, we ain't got time to complain because the personal branding deadline is fast approaching, November the 30th, 2027. I haven't forgot. I may have not dropped it in the video for a long time, but you think I forgot? I have not. And that's the reason why we can't complain. We don't have time to complain. We don't have capacity to complain. We got work to do. But on that note, that's it from me. What do you think? Do you feel that complaining has shaped your sort of process of how you navigate work, how you navigate business? Are you someone who notices that they actually complain quite a lot? Do you feel that complaining has sort of had a negative impact in your life, or would you argue it's had a positive impact in your life? Let me know your thoughts, as I'm always interested to hear what you have to say. But all in all, thank you very much for rocking with me today, and I'll catch you tomorrow. Peace out, man. Bless up. Look after yourself.